Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, we got the worst news of yesterday over with. Now, let's get to the best news that came out of yesterday, okay? The rematch between Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira is official and set for October 21st in Abu Dhabi at UFC 294. And this is amazing news, considering just yesterday I had to do a video on Islam Makhachev calling out Leon Edwards over Twitter because it seemed as though not a single lightweight was willing to step up for that October date. And, the only guy that was vocalizing his enthusiasm for that date was Alexander Volkanovski, who just came out of surgery. Now, I want to talk about this rematch. I want to talk a little bit of how I think it'll go. I also want to talk about whether or not this is the best timing for Charles Oliveira, considering just a few short months ago he said that, not even a month ago, he said he wouldn't be ready for October. So before we get into it, like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. And let's get right into it, dude. This rematch, to Islam fans, is going to be the least intriguing thing of all time because they're annoying, dude, and they just say whatever Islam says. And Islam has said multiple times that he didn't want to rematch Charles Oliveira. He wanted to fight somebody new. Too bad, dude, because Charles Oliveira went out there, finished Beneil Dariush in a round, looked absolutely phenomenal doing it. Not just that, you could see quite easily improvements that he had made, differences about his game, and some of those differences were actually the ones that got him in trouble in the first fight against Islam Makhachev, right? Like, he jumped forward, leaping in, and he did that quite frequently, but a lot of people weren't willing to kind of stand and counter. I think Dustin Poirier was able to clip him once or twice off of one of those jump knees or jump front front kick attacks that Charles Oliveira likes to do so much, but Islam Makhachev was able to drop him with a counter of Charles Oliveira jumping in, and when he fought Beneil Dariush, we didn't really see any of that. We saw a Charles Oliveira that was a little bit more patient, but certainly not any less offensive. You know what I mean? There's a difference between being patient and waiting to counter, and then being patient while trying to kill your opponent at the same time, and that's the the perfect mix, it seems, for Charles Oliveira. I think that if he throws head kicks against Islam Makhachev the same way that he was throwing head kicks against Beneil Dariush, he could have success, because when you throw a head kick, right, it's if you try to catch that kick, you could potentially end up knocked out. Whereas a body kick or even a high leg kick, you know, Islam could grab it, run it back for a takedown, spend the rest of the round on top, and just take that round, wear you out a little bit. If Charles Oliveira throws more to the head, more head kicks, which his head kicks are beautiful, fast, perfect technique, and it was obviously not a technique that he has just learned. It's not like he just learned how to throw a head kick, but it wasn't really something that we saw him utilize. Before, it was a lot of attacks up the middle. As I said, a front kick to the body is quite possibly the easiest kick to get a takedown off of. You know what I mean? But if he's blasting round kicks to Islam Makhachev's head, he is going to have to block them. You know what I mean? So hopefully Charles Oliveira's made enough improvements. Hopefully he's made enough adjustments to be able to have a better and more competitive match with Islam Makhachev. You know, I don't want to pick Islam, but I feel like it could potentially go a similar way. Although Charles Oliveira looked a little bit bigger in his fight against Beneil Dariush also, so maybe he's been trying to bulk up. Now, the thing that I'm concerned about is that Charles Oliveira said in June, after his win over Beneil Dariush, that he wasn't going to fight in October. He wasn't ready to fight in October. He wanted to wait. And I was upset by that, but I understood it because he obviously wants to be as prepared as he possibly can for Islam Makhachev. Then they were having problems finding an opponent for Islam Makhachev, so I'm hoping that Charles Oliveira was not pressured into this by the UFC, or that they just maybe added a zero or wrote him an extra fat check to take this fight, because I want Charles Oliveira to be ready and not, there wasn't really any reported injuries or anything like that, so I'm hoping that that's not the case. But it was a little strange that after winning in June, he said no to October, which isn't really that close. Like, you have time to recover from your latest weight cut in camp and then go and enter a new one. But, maybe he just didn't want to fight in Abu Dhabi. You know what I mean? It seems to have that effect on quite a few people. The atmosphere is very different. The environment is very different, and not just like the people surrounding you, but the literal, like the temperature, the humidity, all of that stuff is different. So I'm hoping that he wasn't. I hope the UFC didn't like strong arm him into it, and that we're gonna get a Charles Oliveira that is not ready to go out there and put on the performance that we all know Charles Oliveira can put on. Okay, goddamn, I want this motherfucker to win. I don't know what it is about Charles Oliveira, but he's just got like a contagious spirit about him that sounds fucking cringe, but I don't know, man. He's just always so intense. His fights are always so goddamn exciting, and he's knocked down everybody at lightweight. Aside, his resume is much better than Islam Makhachev's at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I saw Islam Makhachev's coach, Javier Mendez, when talking about the fight with Leon Edwards, said that we've knocked down all of the opponents at lightweight. So he's looking for a new challenge. And that challenge is Leon Edwards. He's beat Charles Oliveira, and that's it at lightweight. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't fought any of the guys at the top of the division, so I don't know where the fuck that came from. Whereas Charles Oliveira has finishes over Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and Michael Chandler. You know what I mean? So, weird statement by Javier Mendez. Charles Oliveira has beaten everybody, and this is the only fight that they could have given Charles Oliveira. I just hope that he wasn't pressured or strong-armed into it, and that we will get the best Charles Oliveira on the night of October 21st. Another thing about that announcement that I thought was odd, or that at the very least surprised me, I thought that once we got the news about Francis Ngannou fighting Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia on October 28th of this year, that the UFC would push back UFC 294 to be on the same day as Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury. And once I saw all of the announcements that they made of the fights that were official for UFC 294, pardon me, I thought for sure that was going to be the case, because that is a totally stacked fight card. And I would imagine that if that boxing fight between Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury is depending on a lot of MMA fans to purchase that pay-per-view, if you've got the UFC going on the exact same night, I would imagine most of those fans purchase the UFC pay-per-view, UFC 294, instead of the spectacle that will be Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. But regardless, dude, let me know what you guys think of the rematch. I'm glad that they didn't go and make the Leon Edwards fight. I bet you Dana White was willing to write Charles Oliveira $10 million to fucking make it to October, so they didn't have to let Islam hold two belts. Okay, you Islam fans getting all triggered in the comment section. And yeah, man, let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe, greatly appreciate it. See you at the next one. Bye bye.